Harvard students have access to the best professors on the planet. Nobel Prize winners, billion-dollar research labs, endless lectures. Most people think that's why they succeed. Wrong. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most Harvard students don't rely on lectures at all. They ignore passive learning almost completely. Meanwhile, you're sitting there rereading notes like an idiot. So what do they know that you don't? 3 things. The same 3 systems that let them absorb more in 2 hours than you do in 10. I'm about to show you exactly what they are. And by the end of this, you'll never study the same way again. Chapter 1. Passive learning is a lie. Most people think learning equals input. Read more, watch more, highlight more. Wrong, that's not learning. That's consumption. It feels productive. It looks productive, but it's useless. Psychologist Robert Bjork calls this the illusion of competence. You reread something, it feels familiar, so your brain says, yeah, we know this. But when you try to recall it, nothing. Gone. Harvard students figured this out early. They don't trust familiarity. They test themselves constantly. But here's the problem, though. Most people are addicted to passive learning. Why? Because it's easy. No pressure, no discomfort, no failure, just vibes. Harvard students do the opposite. They make learning painful on purpose. Let me explain. Instead of rereading a chapter, they close the book. Then they ask, what did I just learn? No notes, no help, no cheating. If they can't answer, good, that's the point. Because struggle creates memory. A study from Make It Stick showed that retrieval practice increases retention dramatically compared to rereading. Translation? Testing yourself beats studying. Every time. Average students read. Harvard students interrogate themselves. And that's just the beginning. Chapter 2. They turn learning into combat. Most people study for comfort. Harvard students study for survival. Big difference. You review notes calmly. They simulate pressure, cold calls, rapid questioning, public explanation. If you've ever heard of the Harvard Law School method, you know this. Professor calls your name. No warning. Explain the case. Now your brain panics. Heart rate spikes. Adrenaline hits. You either answer or you crash. Sounds stressful? Good, because stress encodes memory. Psychologists call this desirable difficulty. When something is hard, your brain marks it as important. It says, don't lose this. We might need it. Most people avoid difficulty. Harvard students chase it. But here's the problem, though. You can't rely on external pressure forever. You're not in a Harvard lecture hall. So how do you recreate this? Simple. You build artificial pressure. Instead of reviewing quietly, you set a timer, record yourself explaining. Teach an imaginary student, or better, a real one, because teaching forces clarity. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. This is why top performers use the see one, do one, teach one model. Watch it, do it, then teach it. 3 layers, 3 reinforcements, and suddenly knowledge sticks. But here's the thing, though. Even if you understand something deeply, there's still a problem. You forget it, fast. Chapter 3. They hack the forgetting curve. Your brain is broken. Not metaphorically, literally. It deletes information constantly. Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered this over 100 years ago. It's called the forgetting curve. You lose up to 90% of new information within days. So what do average people do? Cram. Wrong. Cramming is just delayed forgetting. Harvard students don't cram. They schedule forgetting. They review at precise intervals, right before the memory disappears. This is called spaced repetition. And it's brutal, because it forces you to revisit material just as it becomes uncomfortable. Not when it's easy, not when it's fresh, but when it's fading. That tension, that's what locks memory in. Medical students use tools like Anki for this. Harvard students do the same thing. But here's the twist. They don't just repeat. They combine repetition with retrieval, meaning every review is a test, not a reread. So instead of this, read arrow, forget arrow, reread arrow, forget, they do this. Test arrow, struggle arrow, recall arrow, strengthen over and over. Like lifting weights, you don't build muscle by watching the gym. You build it by stressing the system. Same with your brain. But here's the problem, though. Even with perfect memory systems, most people still learn slowly. Why? Because they're learning the wrong way. Chapter 4. Less input, more output. You think learning means more information. Wrong. It means better processing. Most people try to consume everything. Every lecture, every slide, every detail. Harvard students ignore most of it. They focus on the core, the 20% that drives results. This is the Pareto principle, and it shows up everywhere. In law, it's key cases. In medicine, it's core patterns. In business, it's leverage points. They don't memorize everything, they compress information. Like surgeons using illness scripts to group symptoms into patterns. Instead of 20 facts, 1 concept. Clean, efficient, memorable. Average students collect data. Harvard students build models. But here's the thing, though. Models only work if you actively use them. Which brings us to the final advantage. Chapter 5. They learn by producing, not consuming. Most people are spectators, watching videos, reading books, highlighting notes. Harvard students are producers. They write, they debate, they build, they argue, because output is the real test. If you can produce something from memory, you own it. If not, you're just borrowing it. Think about it. You can watch 100 hours of coding tutorials. Still can't code. Why? Because you never produced. Harvard students flip this. Minimal input, maximum output. Write essays, solve problems, build projects, constantly. And every time they fail, they learn faster, because mistakes are data. Erickson's research on deliberate practice proves this. Improvement comes from targeted failure, not repetition, not comfort. Failure, corrected immediately, repeated aggressively. That's how elites improve. But here's the problem, though. Most people won't do this. They'll watch this video, nod, agree, then go back to passive learning, because it's easier, and that's why they stay average. Hit subscribe before you forget this, seriously. Your brain is already deleting it. We fix that here. Even if you start using active recall, even if you build pressure, even if you use spaced repetition, there's still one problem. Focus. Because if you're distracted every 3 minutes, none of this works. A University of California study found it takes 23 minutes to refocus after interruption. Do the math. You never actually learn. That's why I made this next video, breaking down exactly how elite students eliminate distraction and enter deep focus mode on command. It's almost unfair. Watch it now.